Okay, so good morning and welcome to this session called IoT Market Trends and Business Model Innovation. My name is Mirko Presser. I'm from Aarhus University and I'm also the Vice President of the IoT Forum, organizing the IoTWeek. And we've been trying to bring more and more of the socio-economic aspects into what was largely a few years ago a very tech centered and still is quite, of course, very technology-driven event. And we are very pleased that this year we have a whole track on business and marketing and trends overall, which will all happen in this room. So I know there's going to be lunch at some point, but otherwise you can settle in on your spot here and have for the entire period of the day an introduction to various aspects around IoT and business, from a marketing perspective, from a trends perspective, and now also from a business model and business model innovation perspective. The session is, we have 4 speakers in the session, and we're trying to keep the talks from the speakers very brief, and then trying to have a conversation amongst ourselves, and invite also, of course, the audience to come in with their own questions to the speakers about the topics that they address. I'll invite the speakers one after the other. The first one I would like to invite is Cesar Alexandre de Souza. He's from the School of Economics and Business Administration at the University of Sao Paulo. And like me, enjoys working on business models and the Internet of Things. So please, Cesar, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cesar from the University of Sao Paulo. I'm from the business school, as Mirko said. I would like, first of all, to thank Mirko and the conference chair for the invitation. And I would like to start my talk with a provocation for everyone. Nowadays we are talking a lot about digital transformation, and I've been studying IT impacts in business for 25 years now, and it seems that there's always a new technology that will change everything. And this is a paper from 1994, a very important paper in my area of study, that's information systems and IT impacts, information systems and IT impacts in business. It's from Venkatraman. He's a researcher that studies information technology alignment to strategy and business. And as you can see, he was talking about IT-enabled business transformation 25 years ago. And he proposed these 5 levels, much in line with what we're talking today about small changes, evolutionary levels, and big changes, revolutionary levels, just localized exploitation, internal integration, just like ERP systems. Business process redesign, think about re-engineering business process, changing the way things are done inside the companies. Business network redesign, when we think about ecosystems, this is the word that we use now for his idea of changing the supply chain and connecting with partners. And finally, business scope redefinition, something that is much in line with new possibilities of, new possibilities of doing our business, changing the services and the products we do using IT. Okay, so this is a provocation. We are talking about digital transformation for several years, since the first computer was installed in the first company that used it. And what I think is better now, it's much easier to sell this idea to business people, to executives. They're immersed in this, they are immersed in this new scenario. So in 1994, we had the Apple Newton launch, and we had this kind of notebooks, and we had the internet in its beginning for the commercial use. So I took this from a very popular TV show. This has all happened and will happen again, okay? We will always be worried with the next technology. So what's different now? Thinking about this, 3 weeks ago, I was in a conference in New Zealand, and Professor Michael Myers, he's from IoT Technology, University of Technology. He gave this very inspiring speech. He's a scholar. He's studying the same thing as I, but for much more time, 40 years now. And he had this insight. I stole this from him. I sent him an email, he didn't reply, so I'm showing it anyway, okay? And he came with this idea of the digital first, that when we talk about information systems, we think in designing systems to copying the physical world, to register the physical world. This was the initial idea of information systems. But now what we are seeing, that's the digital information systems used to reflect the real world. Now it's the opposite, okay? So he gave the example of the air tickets. Perhaps most of you don't remember this, but we have to go to the travel agents to get the paper tickets, and that was the proof of your travel. If you didn't have the paper, you couldn't get aboard the plane, okay? Now, we may even print the boarding, but it's not the proof of your tickets. It's just a copy of the digital world. So when he talks about digital first, he used this concept of an ontological reversal in the field of IS, that we now, digital is first, and then the physical world reflects what we planned in the physical world reflects what we are planning in the digital world. So I was thinking, and then the IoT, what's the role of IoT in this also? Perhaps when we have this idea that the Internet of Things turns the world into data, perhaps it's the opposite as well. We can use IoT to implement this idea of the digital first. And this is much in line with the digital transformation issue that we are all talking about. So, this is one example I've got in a recent paper, the internet in the car versus the car in the internet. So, cars in sorry. I have some difficulty here. No, because I think I clicked here. Okay. No problem. Thank you. Sorry. 2 minutes. Sorry. Are you serious? 3 minutes. So, the idea of the internet in the car versus the car in the internet, this is an example of Amazon is thinking about controlling your car trunk, so they can, the people who is delivering your product can open your trunk and put your product inside. Of course, I would recommend you to check your spare tires after this, okay? But then, very quickly, so since IT, the second line, since IT or digital technology are never the core product or service in companies, this is my experience, I no one convinced me of the opposite. Digital technology is used to complement and increase the value of your product or service, but it's never the service. So what we are really talking about when we say about using IoT, we are talking about business models. And of course, business model innovations if you want to use IoT to change the way things are done, okay? So, this is a very important topic. About consumer IoT, we have the special issue of educating the consumer to this new paradigm and products and services. So this is very important in the second line of the slide. Consumer IoT is harder than manufacturing 4.0, I think, because in manufacturing context, the idea of having sensors and actuators is much more common. So, in my 30 seconds, 1 minute, I will briefly present some examples of business models and things that are connected to them. So, of course, we have to, when we think about IoT, we have to think about the design, the product itself, when we think about the isolated product, but when we connected it to the network, the digital transformation magic happens, and we have to take into consideration some other aspects, like network effects and critical mass. That's something that Fitbit, as one example of successful products, got when people use this to share their scores, how much time they run, and so on. And of course, we have to consider the information systems impacts, big data and analytics that can be used like here as well. Innovation in revenue source, we have the whole idea of not owning, but using, being allowed by IoT, like car sharing, bike sharing, and even things that are you can buy very cheaply and throw away. Thinking about the sustainability issues, we have this umbrella sharing services that are allowed by IoT. And finally, we have to think about real additional value. I call this the fridge dilemma, because when we started talking about IoT, some company came with the idea, oh, we will have the fridge connected to the internet. Wow, that's fantastic, but who cares about a fridge connected to internet? If you don't add real value, you can't sell your product or idea. This is a service that is being developed in Brazil by a very important appliance manufacturer. It's a fridge designed for beers, okay? So it counts the number of cans or bottles of beers you have inside, and when you are running out of beers, you will receive this information in your smartphone and you can buy it. So they transformed the fridge in a marketplace. Think about changing the business model. I'm a manufacturer, now I'm an e-marketplace, or I'm connecting beer sellers to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm sorry I was rushing off the stage a little bit, but we have, I think, an audience that is quite keen on asking some questions later on. We're going through all of our speakers first, and then I invite you to ask some questions. So I would like to invite Stefan Kinze from Grundfos. You're in corporate entrepreneur, I take it, or involved in this sort of field.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to hear about your activities in Grundfos.
Thank you. I don't think I'll manage to cover a lot in the 10 minutes that are available to me. However, yes, right now to the topic that we are addressing here, I am building a function of our team to work with business models, both from an innovation perspective as well from a capability building perspective. And I'll also touch upon why today. The first question or topic I will relate to is, what does IoT mean to a manufacturing company such as Grundfos, and I'm pretty sure also to others? Then dive into the drivers in that and how our ability to get closer to the end users or customers of our products, how that forces us, at least if we want to be successful, to Cesar's last point, to be successful in creating value, how that will work. And then I will round it off by talking about, in my mind, at least right now where I am in Grundfos, how offering or solution or development of the products is a smaller thing in being able to really transform a company like Grundfos to truly deliver value in scale in a new business model. So as time is, it's the last one. So essentially, what does IoT represent to a company like Grundfos? To me, it's two sides of a coin. It can be a threat, it can be an opportunity. If we look at it from the opportunity side first, and actually they go kind of hand in hand, the technology behind IoT or around IoT, lots of them have been mentioned already, should allow a company like Grundfos to get much closer to the users of our products. Connected customers, connected products, connected pumps in this way, will give us a much better understanding of how they are used, but also in the process of getting a product up and running, how well matched they are to the actual application that they're getting into. And right now we have a transactional business model in Grundfos, so we sell the product and then off it goes, and we hope that it will serve the needs of our customers. But when we also go into the actual operation of the product and make sure that it always is tuned in on the needs of both the application, so the technical part of it, but also on the customer part of it, then it will allow us to move, or basically disrupt the existing value chain and deliver more value within, and you could say, a newly defined market space. On the other hand, that also represents a threat to Grundfos, to others, through these technologies, because we can see the very known ones of Google, Facebook, Amazon, the big ones moving into a broader space of hardware. I don't know if you heard the session this morning with Mads, who made the example of a smart pump and a dumb pump. Basically, right now we are delivering smart pumps, and it, as best it can, with the data available in the specific application, it delivers the best performance possible. However, if that's lifted up, and that's where we want to be going in this, you can start optimizing according to similar systems and applications worldwide, then you can make it a much better match to the actual needs of that system and application. That doesn't need to be done by Grundfos. It can also be the bigger ones that go in and disrupt the whole business setup as we have it today. So will we be moving into smarter and smarter pumps, or smarter and smarter controlling of pumps? And who drives that, and who orchestrates that ecosystem of players? That is the threat that is also coming to us. And for a company like, I can't really use this one, I think it shows something else. And for a company like Grundfos, there's another aspect to it. One thing is beginning to acknowledge and understand what I'm talking about. But for a company like Grundfos that comes from a different world, that comes from this pump world, how do we really try to understand what is happening? Do we look at all the new companies, or we can look at our existing core business and competitors? What are they doing? They're connecting pumps, they are making cloud-based solutions, etc., etc. But are they really, that's what I'm trying to say earlier, are they really the ones that we should be looking out for? Or is it the startups that come in a niche area and create much more value to end users? Or is it these big tech companies that can kind of go in and transform a complete industry, or at least parts of it, almost overnight? That is the new understanding that we need to relate to in our strategy deployment. So a very quick example to what I was beginning to get out in a very simple setup, two scenarios. One, today a customer or a user of a pump, it breaks down. The natural logic of that owner of the pump is to get it replaced and install a new pump that is similar to the ones that broke. Fair enough, that's the existing value chain or setup. But if we are to look at the application of IoT and the related technologies, then really what we should consider from a Grundfos perspective is what is the actual problem of that customer? So this is really getting into customer centricity and looking at that. Because maybe it's not the pump is just there to put pressure or move water basically. And for the customer to make sure that it runs optimally, so not spilling water and not using too much energy, maybe that customer doesn't have the competence to do so. And there might be too many pumps and installations, so they don't have the capacity to overlook all of it. So what is the actual problem for the customer? That is what we need to understand. And then consider what are the building blocks in solving those customer pain points, as it's typically called. That's not necessarily, for one thing, the pump is only a part of it, is what I'm trying to say. So what are the other components? And that's what we're looking at when we talk about business model innovation in Grundfos. So, and it's more than talking about a bundle to say now we take the pump and then we connect it, so there's some connectivity, there's some controllers, and then we're up and running. And also applying the AI and algorithms, it's more than that. It's designing the business model so that it actually captures the specific pain points of the customers. So being able to deliver monitoring or insightful alarms, or maybe even being proactive to say that now we need to do predictive maintenance, or we need to change these settings, or they change automatically so that it runs better. To go all the way out there and start considering what is the actual solution here. If you have a target as an end user to reduce energy consumption by 3% every year, then again I can relate to what Mads also said earlier, then actually pumps can be an interesting road to go down in regards to that. And we can go in and deliver a solution to that, to say, we will actually go in and deliver a performance-based contract with you to reduce within the sphere that is related to pumps, to reduce energy. That is what our promise to you is. And that's actually solving a pain point for that customer that is much more high on the agenda than the broken pump might be. And that goes again and again, and that will require us to consider other elements than what right now in my mind at least would be the classical ones to consider bundling. So the hardware, manual services of installation and commissioning, and maybe some digital services made available to the consumer, but also considering the contractual elements around it, to consider selling uptime or performance-based contract, and that increases the complexity of communicating the solution to the customer, and also in selling it and being capable of selling it in scale as compared to a pilot here and there. So in Grundfos we have an ambition to move from this company that manufactures pumps and replaces broken pumps or installs them in new installations, to being on a journey where we move all the way out there where we can say we deliver water as a service. And again, that can be delivered in many different ways, business model-wise, if you ask me. That is the ambition, and that's what we are stretching the ambition, the organization to also understand when working with new projects, but also when starting to sell some of these new offerings that comes out. Because it's not given that that the next pump from Pump Plus there's a trend service to water as a service, that is one big leap that we bring out. It could be, but that's not a given. So my final point that was a bit between the lines earlier is to say that, and I might have been overstating it a bit here in the sizing relations here, is that developing and coming up with fantastic new solutions that truly could create value for a number of customers out there, that is one thing. I would actually claim that it's probably easier to start building in the market from a startup point of view. If you are, however, Grundfos that comes up with many new solutions, some similar, some not similar at all, that all require new capabilities from the people across the organization, across the different organizational silos, that requires, as Cesar was also pointing at, when new IT technologies are brought on board, it's not, business transformation is all the way out there. We're changing the full scope of this. So processes, structures, like incentives and stuff like that, and then essentially all the systems that are supporting the day-to-day business. Billing. We cannot, as a standard, it's difficult to go from a transactional business model in SAP to something as trivial as a subscription billing. So there are so many things that needs to be worked on at the same time. It's kind of the iceberg, right? Whatever is beneath a big organization like Grundfos needs to be worked with to make sure that the top shines and they deliver true valuable solutions to our end users. And my last point would then be this. We've kind of touched a bit upon it, but so Grundfos is not pioneering new pump solutions, but really pioneering new solutions to solve some of the water and climate issues that we have globally today. And the technologies around IoT is, I think to your point a bit also, an enabler in that. It has to be combined with us being capable of delivering new business models for it really to make a difference in the world. Thank you.
I threatened every speaker that I would start hugging him after 10 minutes. You just slipped that one. Next speaker I would like to invite Mirko Boss. It's the most beautiful name that is there on the earth. Mirko. So I think while we're switching over, I'm hoping that we're going to have a very good discussion later on with the claim, for instance, of César, that companies like Grundfos, you know, the digital technologies are never the core products. Let's investigate that a little bit further, because you know, the further you move down the line from the pump away, you know, what becomes the core product is going to be a very interesting conversation. But before that, Nikos, you run Digital Works. You are an ambassador for the Internet of Things. Have been working on many projects together with industry, and you have your own projects on digital transformation and digital business model innovation. So, please, close
yes.
the door. 10 minutes and then I come.
Thanks to Mirko, the original. Yes, just when I was invited to ask about business model innovation, I just wanted to present a new venture we started out of Digital Works and how we did this and why we did this and what is the business model innovation in behind. So the venture we are just building there is ngiot.eu, and as you see, I think, however, every business model starts with a vision and a mission. And at Ashwin, it was really at the beginning we had this mission. When we were looking on the IoT, we were thinking, well, the IoT is sick. It's sick because we have a lot of vulnerabilities out there already. There are over 70% of malware is spread worldwide over IoT devices. And that's one reason, because the devices are not properly patched or have no firmware update supply. That was the reason why we were thinking about, well, could this be a business opportunity? And we are deeply driven really by a vision and a mission because we want to heal the IoT. So Ashwin, as you see it as a product, is from a Sanskrit name. There are Sanskrit gods, Indian gods, the Ashwin twins, and they're the healer of gods. So what does it mean? For example, Grundfos is a god-like IoT company. We believe that somehow during your lifetime you're getting sick because you're getting vulnerabilities. So then just call the Ashwins, the healer of gods, and we'll just serve you and we will heal your infrastructure and your system. That is the basic idea, the mission. So every business model has to start with a mission and a vision, because this is driving the team and this is driving the company. Besides all the tech, I think you need this kind of core, really this core vision. So the Ashwins. Luca was telling you a little bit about me, so if you just want to get in touch with me, here are my contact data, and yeah, just don't hesitate to talk with me. Secondly, after this mission issue, after this mission issue, I think, of course, we are talking with IoT a lot about technology, and even this new startup or this venture is rather technology related because we are technology provider, solution provider. But at the end, if we go to the business modeling, as we heard before, no pain, no gain. So first of all, it all starts like with how to identify really a pain and a need. And we see a lot of IoT companies out there who are rather tech-driven, and they're starting from the technology. Like, let's see the blockchain world as well. So, of course, you can start from the technology, but then it's rather hard to find your market. Or even you have to try to educate your market, which is not a startup business. So if you're Amazon and you want to teach the people about voice and what is the purpose of voice control, then you can start teaching people, because you can invest in this kind of technology to get people accepting Alexa, yes or no. But this is for a startup, not a business model you can go. So I think if you are starting out of the scratch, it's no pain, no gain. So we have to identify the pain. Secondly, what I think is rather interesting, because to the Grundfos, compared to the Grundfos, we had really the opportunity to start off the scratch. So we are not tied to any existing business model or circumstances and stuff like that. So we had the ability really to rethink completely out of the box and to shape the product without any discussions internally. Is this compared to our core strategy or stuff like that? Even to remove this from our core company, we did for this product the excavation, so we really put it out in a new venture. Okay, then the question was, well, how to develop a business model for an IoT startup, and this is really for an IoT startup. I mean, there are a lot of toolboxes out there. For example, of course, we have started, for example, to work with the business model canvas stuff and all what you have is, because just to have a structured process to develop a product. But these are toolboxes. At the end, it all starts with listen to the customer, talk with potential customers. In this case, because we hadn't a product already, we just had an idea, we seen a market opportunity, we had no customers, so we were just talking a lot with people. This is the main topic. And the first question was, of course, if we talk about IoT devices and we talk with companies about IoT, how do you manage updated patches? Do you really manage it? Yes or not? And a lot of people no, we will manage it later on because we're happy that the product is running. Or secondly, yes, we are managing it. Okay. Did you make a make or buy decision? No, we made make. Why? Because there was nothing we could buy for us. And this was a clear indicator when we had this kind of talks that there is a need in the market. And then the next question is, how much you're investing in your update infrastructure. And it shows easily that this is ramping up into a six-digit up to a seven-digit investment for the companies, just providing IoT update maintenance support, which is not their core business, because they want to sell IoT products or IoT services. They don't want to invest in patch management because this is no reinvest for them, or it's no business model. So, and if you have a central instances, you can provide the infrastructure for a fixed cost labor. We think this was a good opportunity to start, so talking with the customers. Secondly, the decision to run further in the business model was a question, is this a scaling business, yes or not? I mean, okay, if you go to the IoT, for sure this is a scaling business. And the story is rather easy to tell, because if we start from the 27 billion devices from today, and we have this 125 billion devices, maybe expectation, we know this is a scaling business, so the story is rather easy to tell, and it's rather easy, clear, even if there are many companies out there who are very good at patch management, that there are many companies out there who are not good at patch management, or that there are more companies out there who don't even have a clue how to patch IoT devices during the life cycle. Just take smart infrastructure like smart buildings with 10 years life cycle and stuff like that. So there's a lot to do, and I think, well, this is just calling for a good solution. So we have a scaling market. Secondly, we have a window of opportunity, because to bring this kind of solutions, I mean, IoT is something like the people are starting doing their proof of concepts, they're happy to build their first IoT products, then they're rolling out, then they are presenting it on the fairs and the trade shows, and patching and updating is the most times the last things they are doing, because it's just on the product development plan, that's something that the people are just shifting at the end. And now we have the windows of opportunities, because there are many devices already shipped, and many customers have the experience that not doing a proper patch management is just a killer for them. The need, I've told you, and then there are some certain USPs. For example, we have blockchain in the solution. So if we go to the business model, what is the business model? Well, the business model is just simply make a platform for secure update IoT devices at the edge. It's a software as a service. We are a logistic company for IoT updates. So customers are giving us the update, we transport it to the devices. The update will be deployed on the devices, we are getting a receipt, so that this device has really applied the update, and both we're getting back to the customers and they can use it for their business model, for their own business. Then a question, yes, if you go there, what are the business model we see? Well, we have two business models. One is a short-term business model. What I was talking about, this delivery service for updated patches, just fulfilling the current need. And this is a short-term business model where we can just give an answer to the current pain. It's an open source business model, so rather driven by service in behind. But what we really see, which is exciting, is the long-term business model. Because if we think 10 years in ahead, the question is, what is the situation with all the IoT devices which are shipped out there and deployed out there? How many of them can be updated anymore? Because many of them will just run out their update capability because the hardware platforms are outdated. So in future, like for companies like Grundfos and other industrial companies, there will be a situation that you have millions of devices shipped out there. Some you can support with updates to close vulnerabilities. Others can't be updated anymore. And then you have to make a business decision. Like, do you replace the update? Will the customers pay for the update? And what we think is that threat landscape reporting and modeling on your fleet of IoT devices will become more and more crucial. And that's also what we see when we talk with big insurance companies, because they will provide the cybersecurity insurances, and they will ask big customers, they will ask customers about their threat landscape. And by that, on a long term, we are running from this open source SaaS model to a data analytics model, because we have the data, we know which kind of devices are out there, which kind of vulnerabilities, and we can create threat modeling reports for our customers, which helps them to lower their insurance fees if they go into cybersecurity insurances. So you see, there are many options out there, and even a business model can be just designed even for a short term and a long term with different aims and perspectives. Okay, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Jetzt lade ich dann ein. Wir sind 3/5 Deutsch hier in Kanada, deswegen machen wir jetzt die ganze Sache auf Deutsch. Ich lade jetzt den Olaf Gerd hier. Oh, okay. I'm inviting Olaf Gerd to the stage now. So this is our third German in this group. Olaf Gerd, you are working with FIWare in the FIWare Foundation, and I would like you to give us some insights about the developments that have happened since its origin in 2007, I think, with the FIPPP, and then ramping up over the last 12 years.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Mirko. So, as you said, I'm working since many years in FIWare, but FIWare has a long history. It's about roughly 8 years, 9 years now, and the idea where it started is around 10 years ago. So, what I can, in my presentation, I'll give you an understanding what is the idea behind FIWare, why it's a community, and we have standards and APIs and so on, and what are the ingredients, why we are successful. As you said, it was an EU project, and per se, it's not an easy task to have an EU project successfully implemented in the market. And at this scale, we have invested 700 million euros just in the technology and building a global community to using this. This is hard, of course. My profession is a business architect, so I'm working with FIWare in the area of how this can be sustained over time, what are the ingredients, and how the members make money out of it, how the members cooperate, and how all this come together. When you're talking about IoT, this is one of the consequences of IoT. It's a Korean example, and I don't think, or of course, we get orders, so we get many people in the world still wants to have such a command and control center. It's bringing all this tsunami of information into one center, and then there's a nice woman or a mayor or whoever who can monitor all this incoming information and display this on huge screens, which is of course very amazing. However, we see this in China, of course everyone is watching this area. is this really George Orwell at the next level? So I don't think that we should go in this direction, and we're looking for what is the real value for the citizens and for our society. And you mentioned already Sustainable Development Goals. This is the planet is our customer. And and I will show you in some of the slides now what others are doing. They all are part of the FireWare community, and we do different things in a different way. This is the opposite of this. So this is the people or the system or the government is watching us, and this is we watching them. So this is the privacy app we launched, and people in the world going with their cameras, making a photo of a device which is watching us. This is maybe a sensor, a camera, whatever, and we put this in a crowdsourced repository. We're asking for the URL. In Germany, of course, in Europe we have laws for this, so we can ask about what is the purpose of this device. Can I get the data? Why this data is harvested, and so on and so forth. So this is a project we launched. And this is part of our community, how we work in this area. The second example is a living lab approach. So in the Netherlands, which was an early and huge adopter of the FireWare technologies, there is a future the Future City Foundation, which brings together 20 cities in the Netherlands, and they are following a living lab approach. So they call FireWare Lab Netherlands Data and Tools. So in a living lab environment, which is on a co-working space or an innovation incubator, in an accelerator, with people gathering together and discussing about how a specific service should look like, how we can work together. So, and this is a test bed. They see a city, or in this sense a country, as a test bed and working. So this is also one of the approaches which are very successful across the world. There is also an international organization called ENOL, the European Network of Living Labs, which is deploying such strategies, including business model innovation and many others, in 145 cities across the world. When it comes to what are the prerequisites for a community, so when everyone has a nice solution, how this solution is interoperable with this, and what is the meaning of interoperability. And in this slide, you see the demand and the supply side. And the demand and supply sides have different meanings and understandings, or why they are looking for interoperability. Because on the planet or in a community, you have to think about how all this technology comes together and how this works. And you see here, from the demand side, of course, they're asking for to compare. So the second point is comparability. Federation. In India, there's a project, 100 smart cities. So 100 smart cities means how you federate this. What's the central repository of data? What's localized and customized and so on? So they are talking about federation. They want to compare different solutions to integrate them. They want to replace you. They are already thinking when they can get rid of you afterwards. How easy is it to replace you? Because you are based on standards. Is this transparent? Because some laws, at least in the western part and the democratic words, we are also talking about transparency. Then, of course, there is a big trend to open source. Everything what we do in FireWare is open source, not only open. It's open source. It's published on the Apache 2.0 license. And we are happy that the people fork it and replace us, make more and more technology based on the same specifications and standards. And of course, it has to be portable. So when something is invented in Munich, it can be ported to Aarhus, and it can be also imported to Copenhagen. So that you have not to reinvent the wheel, have not to invest every time in the same company and development. Another thing is, please look at the non-functional requirements. So when you're looking at IoT and technology, it's about technology, of course. But the other side is the non-functional requirements are equal or even the same important, like to federate, not to have, you have not to look for systems where you store redundantly every time the same, so you have to federate it. So that's data build at the premises and keep at the premises, we federate also only the interoperability. We have to look for sustainability, it has to be standard-based. Who is maintaining the standard? Is it an open standard, which is really open, that there is a community behind, which is transparent, governs the standard, or is it proprietary standard? Of course, the standard is a standard even when a company like Grundfos sets the standard. But is this open in the sense that everybody in the world can use the same standard? This is why we are asking for, of course, standard-based and in this sense open standard-based. It has to be implementation-driven, so you can put all this together better when you first look at the ground and see what's happening there. And based on this implementation and best practices, you start govern and building the system. Low on implementation risk and accountability. On the other side, they are asking for non-functional requirements like time to market. Is it fast? In fiber, we have building blocks. We have 33 building blocks. 80% of any application in the cloud can be built with fiber building blocks, which reduces massively the time to market and help you to de-risk the implementation. Collaboration is key. In the fiber community, more than 1,000 different solution providers, technology, hardware, software, universities are working together. In this area, you can collaborate. If you have an offer here and you need Ashwin, Mirko is also part of it, you ask him, okay, can you help me to understand this and that and deploy a part of the solution which I want to bring up here. This is the way how we build new markets, and we really are global, we really need a global scale. Of course, we have to work with the data economy. You see here a lot of these things. So we started with data coming from the tsunami of edge devices, how we get the information out of it, how we gain knowledge out of it, and of course, SLA's wisdom. And you see here on the left-hand side some of the indicators which should be considered when you think about business models in the area of IoT, data, and so on. This is the onboarding approach. It's also a very interesting ingredient. I'm running the acceleration program. There was a huge acceleration program where we supported 993 projects between 50 and 150,000 euros we gave them, and it was the hugest or the biggest acceleration program in the world I've ever seen. And one of the onboarding strategies, which is the best practice out of this, is how to onboard innovation. You cannot set the requirements for innovation. You have to ask for what is my pain, and then you get a solution provider who says, okay, I imagine it's maybe in this direction. So the actual process of procurement is you set all these requirements, and then you squeeze out innovation in this way because you can only build what is already there and put this in the requirements. But if you ask them a process like this, publication of a challenge, application, and then selection of those who are capable to answer to this challenge, then you have the right way to do this. And I have just 2 minutes more, right? This is a part of my work in the last 5 years. This is called the consensus framework. As you see here on the top, it's the pivotal points of vulnerability. So we have looked around the world and see what are the IoT frameworks available, and we watched more than 200 of them, and find out what are the points where they are interoperable, where they are based on the same technology environment. Based on this, we have created the MIMs, which are called minimum interoperable mechanisms, which is done here in Aarhus by the University of Aarhus, who is leader in this process, and we define those interoperability points, building blocks, and APIs which you mainly need to build a basic system. This come up now. The next step is, we have done this several times already, there's a set of standards for IoT or for smart city or for smart farming, which have to be applied so that the people know when they make a procurement process how to do this. And this will be then feeded into public procurement of innovation and pre-commercial procurement, which is a framework which is very new and not widely adopted, but partly 2 or 3% in Germany, 15% in Helsinki of all the procurement are based on this. As you see here, it's a framework, so you're starting every time again. When you have some innovation, you find already again the pivotal points of interoperability, try to find what is the minimum, what are the building blocks and the API, and going further like this and that. I hope that you get through the presentation because I have an additional 30 slides, and the other slides containing a lot of information. All the information is linked to the repositories on GitHub or otherwise. All the information about the people behind this community, the names, and everything is on all the other slides, which you can see here. And you have some time if you look at this.
If you blink now, you have missed about 2/3 of the presentation. Thank you very much, Olaf. So, I would like to invite the speakers up here, and I think I would like to actually kick it off with, now Olaf has lost his microphone, then I will kick it off with a quick question to, or maybe discussion point to Cesar. So you mentioned that IT impacts have always been sort of discussed in industry, and there has been a replication of it. There was Robert Solow in the 80s that quipped, you can see the computers everywhere except in the productivity figures.
Yes.
So are we at the same stage now with the Internet of Things, that we start talking and seeing it everywhere, but we don't see this impact on productivity yet? Or well, we haven't measured it yet.
Of course, I don't have the measures, but I suspect that it's the case that all technologies have a time to be implemented, and then we have the time to get the productivity from it. Okay, so perhaps we are in the first stage of implementing wide applications of IoT. So there will be a time then for the harvest will come, but perhaps we are at the beginning of this.
Maybe we should ask that question actually going for. So do we talk a lot about IoT? Do we actually implement IoT? But also, do we see the rewards of IoT now embedded in your company values, but also in the bottom line?
So starting out with a Grundfos perspective, doing both business model innovation and innovation in general, I believe that there is a time for a trial and an error or learning phase. And what we are seeing right now is that we can validate some of the IoT solutions that we have out there in a smaller scale. That means that we have X number of customers on different solutions, and we can, through IoT, measure what is the value that we are delivering, and typically it does match the expectations of the customers. So what I'm saying by that is that the scale and the impact globally is relatively low still from the push that we are doing from this. The opportunity, the possibility is huge as we are seeing these first innovations actually making sense to customers. And as I said earlier, then being capable as Grundfos with partners to scale these solutions globally is just as big probably a bigger process than being able to develop a first pilot solution or the first solutions with customers. So to me it is early days. I do, however, see in other industries that IoT solutions are being delivered in scale also.
Okay, thank you. What about Mirko? Do you have an opinion on this? You have worked with a lot of industry players now. Do they see the impact of IoT unfold in their businesses?
Well, I think it's like everybody is looking for the killer app. That's the main problem. It's not like IoT, something like you can build a killer application, and that's not true. At the end, it's a way of technology which allows two things. First of all, you can do an evolution. It's an evolution step on current technologies. So it's just a way. I don't call it really innovation. It's just yes, to do an evolution on your current technology labels, which are mainly or many industrial customers we see that they're trying to work with that. I say trying, like, because a lot of them are starting with predictive maintenance. I think maybe it was for you the first issue as well, where you were stepping in, because this is the obvious way to build an IoT innovation product, but it's not a killer app. Because then the question is, will the market like the predictive maintenance cases? So we had, for example, first cases to find out that the promises to the customers will be, yes, you can lower your costs because you will get less production time, fails or whatever. But we have seen that the costs for maintenance were increasing up to 20% because the IoT systems were just triggering that something is going wrong. And normally it was going wrong, but nobody was caring about it, and production was just working. So I think for predictive maintenance, we see now that the results are not as spectacular as maybe predicted by the industries. But what I really see is, like, for the consumers industry that we see, I mean, to me it's the biggest impact in the consumers industry. All this, we can discuss about e-scooters and this kind of stuff, micro-mobility, it will be not possible without IoT. That's the point. All what we see there. If you like the scooters or not, no scooters without IoT. No Amazon Alexa without IoT. I mean, that's the big impact.
Okay, thank you. Olaf, I wanted to ask you the question that Ms. Nepal was asking. Will the world miss you? But you had another comment in your presentation that was immensely interesting. That is, the planet is our customer.
Right.
So how can the planet be your customer?
It's pretty much related to Greta Thunberg's vision about what is the future of our planet if you don't act today. At the moment, it's a playing field. So IoT, I love raspberries and Arduinos, I play also, but it's a playing field. And the people stick to technology at the moment, but we have to think beyond technology. What is the purpose of all what we do? And we have to address the big challenges, and this is to save our planet. And therefore, of course, technology is the enabler. As you said, we need technology to do this, but we have to gear and to collaborate and to agree for what. And if we put this together and have the same vision, we can solve not all, but many, many problems of this world by cooperating and using technology. And this is why I'm thinking that technology is a wonderful playing field, I love it, but we have to see for what purpose we do all this, and this has to be our customer, the planet.
So let me just add for
one addition,
one addition here, because it's something like, I would totally agree, for example, that a smart grid model, like a new energy model, will not be able without IoT. But on the other hand, I would love to see that we solve this millions and billions of batteries shipped on the IoT sensors in a sustainable way. So I think we have to find out in the industry what is the solution, best solution there. Okay.
So are there questions from the audience? We have a throw of a mic. Don't ask questions in the last row because I find that challenging. So maybe somebody here from the front. Any questions? Yes. Almost. It's in your lap is enough. So
I have a question for Jacob, now working in the security.
Which vehicle?
Working in the security domain, the biggest pain seems to be when you have been hacked. Then you really have a pain. How do you get people to be aware and willing to pay for your services upfront before you really have the pain or experience the pain?
To be honest, we are not aiming to solve that in before. Why? Because it's much easier to sell the business model when there was an incident happen. This sounds rather hard, but we're too small, we can't educate people. But there is an extremely high possibility when you run into the IoT business and you ship your own first IoT devices and you have not a patch or update strategy behind that, you're running into troubles. Troubles mainly means that you have to patch it worldwidely because you have a software problem, simple, and you're facing the costs, or you have cybersecurity risks. And this will hit every company somehow in the life cycle, and then we're getting much more easier into the business because it's already happened and then people are discussing it.
Some more questions? More questions? No? Then I think maybe I would like to thank now our speakers. I would like to remind you that we have 3 places where you can get lunch. The Danish tent, the international tent. The Danish tent is one that's upwards, the international one downwards. And also, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd floor in the main area where you can get vegan, gluten-free and special dietary foods also served. After the lunch, the business track continues in this room, so I invite you to come back and have a seat again here. Thank you very much.